Let's go live to Melbourne now. Ines Willox, Chief Executive of the Australian Industry Group, joins us. Thanks so much for your time, Ines. I guess you are in lockdown, so this is the most people you'll be talking to today and probably for the rest of the week. I've got to ask, how are you, first of all?
I'm good, Laura. Thanks for asking. Victorians don't like being asked, generally, oh, you're back in lockdown again. It's pretty depressing. I think the mood has really soured. I think in the last couple of days, Victorians could probably cope with a week if that's what it had to happen. But another week and then all these stories around false positives, I think have really got under a lot of people's skin. And there's now a lot of questioning around the way the state government's doing it, the advice that they're being given, and the language that's being used. I think all of that is combining to really make things tough for Victorians and question a lot of what's going on. A lot more questioning now than there was a week ago, that's for sure.
Yeah, indeed. And, we know that lockdowns might be necessary from time to time, but essentially a whole state under restrictions seems pretty unnecessary given the beast of a strain we were told about doesn't look like a beast at all. But National Cabinet is underway at the moment, Ines. What are the things that the Premiers and the Prime Minister just need to agree on, first of all?
This is a good question, Laura, and it goes to what have they been talking about for the past year. So the issue around quarantine obviously has come up, dedicated quarantine facilities. We've been suggesting that for some time, suggesting that they're very necessary simply because hotel quarantine, although it works most of the time, doesn't work all of the time, and we need another solution. And so that's one they need to tick off. And then they need to get agreements around support. It's been obvious for a long time that some jurisdictions, the one I'm in Victoria, they have a massive predilection to lockdown at the first sign of any trouble. And if that's the approach they're going to take, there needs to be agreement around who pays for what and how it's paid and when it's paid. And, we've come to this point now through the agreement yesterday. But that's the sort of stuff that should have been agreed months and months ago. And we're going to get more lockdowns, unfortunately. This pandemic is not over. I think everyone in business understands that. And it's how best do we cope with it and live with it and get through it. And there needs to be the Commonwealth and the states on the same page here. And, the abuse, the words, the slanging match that went on from Sunday around who pays for what was totally unedifying. And I talked earlier about diminishing confidence. That didn't help with confidence of people in Victoria to hear that. I mean, we just need these sort of things worked out in advance. A bit of planning and a bit of strategy would be good.
Indeed. Well, a couple of weeks ago, the Prime Minister talked about vaccine passport. Now that language passport isn't being used, but we hope today National Cabinet will be talking about vaccine rollout. What kind of freedoms do you get if you get the vaccine? 2 jabs and you're fully vaccinated. It seems that there isn't even agreement on exemption from state border closures if you're fully vaccinated. Wouldn't that go a huge way to give confidence?
It's kind of depressing, isn't it, that they can't agree on the basic things. So what we would like, what industry would like, is some agreement between the Commonwealth and the states so that if we do, the question here is, what do we need to do to open up, to get freedom of movement and get it guaranteed, both domestically and internationally eventually, and hopefully sooner rather than later. So we've heard premiers talk about maybe 80% vaccination rates, and then they'd be happy to open up. Business doesn't know the answer to that. That's where the medical experts have to come in. But there needs to be some agreement so that there is some certainty. This is the target we're going for. This is what we need to achieve. And when we reach that target, we'll be rewarded. It's a bit of a carrot and stick approach. And we need more carrots and we need certainty around those carrots. And that'll be crucial to getting the vaccination rate up, and it'll be crucial to building community confidence that there is a pathway through this and there is light at the end of the tunnel. In Melbourne right now, it seems like a very dark tunnel and the light seems like a long way away. And that's why, in a Victorian sense, we'd like the state government to put some flexibility into what they're proposing here, not just sort of rigorously stick to one approach. I mean, And yeah, that's what business needs, that's what the community need, and that's what we would expect from our leaders.
One last question. As I see it, there might be a big problem looming for business right across the board, and this is skills shortages, unable to get people into the jobs that are required. For now, it's okay, but when do you see that crunch time coming, given no one is coming into Australia and we don't have that migration?
I'm not sure it's okay now. I think we've got past the point of it being okay, Laura. There are about 250,000 unfilled jobs at the moment. It's the number one issue for business of all shapes and sizes, no matter what they do. They just cannot get people with the right skills, and it's really starting to hurt now. It's hurting right now. It's not a problem for over the horizon, it's a problem for the here and now. We don't have the migration, either permanent or temporary, and that's where these job shortages, these skill shortages are coming, everything from fruit picking right up to those high-end digital skills and everything in between. Circling back, that's where the new quarantine facility could be very useful, because then we would be able, if that works, and it should, to start to bring people in to fill those skills gaps in a safe way. And that's why all these things are linked, and that's why we need to move beyond hotel quarantine, and we need to start thinking more and more about how do we open up and get people moving and get people into the country safely.